Hey, welcome back. I'm gonna try and make this one pretty succinct. I got a knife here, but I have only so much time, and then it's dinner. We are here on the weekend, and we got to do family first. That is super important. So I'm going to unbox this carefully. It feels like it's really stuffed in here, so I'm trying to got the right knife for it, which is the Gemco 8020.5 shark foot. It's very good for this kind of task, although I'm not sure if I'm using it properly here, but let's see if we can get in here. Oh, I see what I'm doing wrong. I didn't realize he doubled over the packaging here. So let's see if we can carefully extract whatever it is that lays within. I thought it was something that kind of looks like it's not right now, so gotta be extra careful because I may have misunderstood what was in here. Oh, cool. Yeah. Totally forgot about this. So, Ode to the Rangers. In doing the channel, I got to meet a couple of really cool folks, and one of them sold me a couple knives. So he's looking to fund some equipment to better work on knives in his, which he's like going to market, bringing out a new knife company or whatever you want to call it, bringing out some knives, going out on his own. And so he moved a couple, and these are really interesting ones. I'm very tempted to separate these into two different videos, but we'll just do one quick, succinct unboxing. And I think we'll start with the Rike knife because it's just so wild. It's got to be first. Got to be first. It's the one that I've been most interested in having come in. So let's get into this. This is not something that I would normally get, to be honest. It's a little cold because it came out of the mailbox not too long ago, so it's got to get it cleaned up a little bit here. But it's this one that, like, I gotta admit, even though it's not my style, I could not ignore it. I really wanted to get it in hand. And it's an integral, and it's a wild one. It is truly a wild one. So for those of you that already identified what it is, this is the Rike Lamella. This one's a 20 CV, and it's a full integral titanium handle, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Whoa, that thing is pretty wild. It actually feels pretty good in hand, which is cool. But this is, you know, something born out of a Vin Diesel movie, or, you know, just a spawn of Satan in itself. That is a wild looking knife. And this one was maybe lightly carried, so it may have like a tiny bit of wear on it, but it's I'm curious what the grind is on that. Is that, I think it's a flat, but it almost looks like it's a hollow. Maybe it's a hollow grind. So let's take a look at what's on the blade. So Lamella 2022 has the year on there, which is really cool. And then on the blade here, CPM 20 CV, and then it's a numbered knife, so number 211. So that's super cool. Very limited number of these made. And it's it looks like it's a liner lock. It's not like an inset frame lock, at least that I can tell. Is it an inset frame lock? I'd call that a liner lock from what I can see there. Let's see how oh my God, that's shocking. Holy smokes. So it's actually, what's cool also, by the way, removable stud there. Kind of afraid to do this that way. I think, yeah, it's actually like a really cool functional knife in a lot of ways. And absolutely drops shut, and absolutely centered. Is it centered? Let me get my own eyes on it. It looks, yeah, it looks like it's really nicely centered. It has a fuller on it too. I didn't notice that. So you could potentially just take the stud off and use the fuller. So that's cool. It's got a flipper. You cannot front flip it from what I can tell. So that's one way that you cannot deploy it. But it's actually a pretty darn like functional knife. Huh. I did not expect this to just function so well. That's really cool. I'll go on to the next one. Maybe this one deserves its own just sort of separate video because, again, this is very much not my style. And because of that, it makes me kind of want to consider it and what it kind of represents in the knife world. But, you know, I've heard of people getting into knives from all sorts of backgrounds. For me, it was sort of a functional background. I had my pocket knife that I used in like Cub Scouts and stuff. To start, my dad had a boat knife that, you know, was very present in our lives. We did a lot of boating growing up, and I watched that thing get dropped into the water and cut ropes and just really be used. It was something that was, you know, I didn't even really think of it as a knife. I just thought of it as a tool that we had in the boat, because if you didn't have one, you couldn't boat. It was kind of how I thought of it. But, you know, having met a lot of people now in the knife world, people get into it. And I've gotten into it from, I've also re-gotten into it from tactical. When I got into firearms, I got back into knives. I've obviously gotten back into it this time more around collecting and stuff. And I've just been, I think you get into knives for a lot of different reasons, right? There are people that are into them for cutlery in the kitchen. One like this sort of falls into the category of like, I want to call it like maybe like coming from more of a fantasy background, gaming, fantasy. Like there's a certain emotional response you get when you look at a knife like this that, you know, is going to appeal to a set of people. The cool thing again is that it's functionally a very good knife. Like I'm not on the thumb stud here. You could take these thumb studs off and still open it. It's quite impressive. And obviously, you know, if you have an appreciation for manufacturing, Rike is really, really good at what they do. And, you know, to have an integral that costs, I don't know what this thing is, like I think it's like $380 or something like that if you get it new. It's pretty impressive. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm going to share this to a buddy and see what he thinks. I may let this one go over to a buddy that I think might really resonate with it. So we'll see. Shout out to Dave Bennett over at Northern Blades. I just did a video on his shop here in town. But I got introduced to him through another friend that's pretty close with my brother, and he's really cool. So we're talking about doing some custom knives, and he may even convince me to try and make my own knife, which I think would be a pretty fun little journey to go on and go work with him in the shop and try and put one together. But he might be interested in something like that. All right, the next one's also really cool, but also a little out of something that I would normally get. And this one is the Kansept, sorry for the zoom issue or the focus issue, Fenrir. And if you're familiar with this, you're kind of excited right now because it is pretty wild. I've never had, it's actually pronounced, I think, Kansept. I think I made a mistake there. I've not really gotten into the brand, so I don't know it very well. I know it as, you know, I believe it's a company that makes knives out of China and does a very good job of it from what I've heard. But this one caught my eye, and I'm like, that thing is very Metal Complex, sorry, butchered it. But it's also very cool. Like, you can objectively look at this knife and be like, God damn, how wild is that? I'm surprised they didn't do the Timascus on the pocket clip. That would have been a nice additional touch there. Does that sit on the Timascus or on the... Kind of does, huh? It's hard to see right now. I don't have great lighting going on as per usual. That's a beautiful knife, actually. So this is a inset frame lock. If you've been wondering like how you know that, it's basically if this is one piece and then there's a, something sitting over the front of it so that you can't depress it when you are trying to open the knife. And it's, to me, a much, much better design than a frame lock, like incomparably better. That's pretty sweet action. Perfectly centered. This also, both of these have a little bit of use on them, so they're not brand new, so I can't, I have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt. I think I can front flip this one too. That's sweet. So I really like, this is something that's growing on me, is a knife that has both thumb studs and a front flipper. Because I do find flipper tabs to be very annoying when the knife is closed. I'm not going to get into that, but I did do a video on deployment matters. And I'm really into just the idea of having both a mix of thumb studs and, God, that is a wild, wild knife. I hope I can get proper lighting on this for making sure you understand what you're looking at here, because it is pretty out there. Here's that's an interesting little etching in there for the logo. That's pretty cool. I think it's a skull or some kind of skull, maybe a vulture skull or something. Well, this I actually kind of forgot what this looked like. I just remember that it had Timascus. This is a really nice feeling knife in the hand. This is like objectively a nice knife, like just generally a nice knife beyond the fact that you've got this wild Timascus and wild blade. I don't know if it says what kind of Timascus this is. It just says Damascus blade, so you don't really know. It's not like a Damastil brand or something like that, but it's probably pretty good. If I were to guess the level of blade steel based on the fit and finish of the rest of the knife, I bet it's pretty good. I'd have to go look it up, but I'm going to guess that it's in the range of like a 154 cm. If I had to guess, that's just kind of the sense I get when I get this knife in my hand, is they probably didn't shortcut the blade steel to something low end. Pretty freaking cool. You can really get up into the blade nicely. You can come up over the top. Like, this is a very functional knife. Now, stylistically, it's very polarizing. I'd say both of these are. And they're also very different, but kind of fall in the same realm of what the F kind of knives. So it's very fun. I'm glad the seller posted it. There were a couple other people in the group that were like, well, if I had the money, I would grab those. And I was just like, screw it. Let's go do something that I wouldn't normally do. There's, it's a group I really respect. If you know, like Lefty and just that whole group of folks involved with Devo knives, and yeah, there's quite a few different people in there. Some of them work at Oz and various different places. And yeah, they're sharp. They know their stuff a lot better than I do, that's for sure. So when they were all getting excited about these two, I was like, I'm excited now, and no one bought it. So I was like, all right, I'll hit up the seller, and he made it happen. So thank you. I try not to use names on here unless it's already like a public name like Lefty or whatever, then whatever. But I won't use people's personal names and stuff unless they are okay with it. So not gonna name names, but thank you again. So very fun one. Just, I'm not gonna do too much more on these, but I may do videos on each of these individually. I was pretty excited to get these on the channel and just share with you that experience, and it was better than I expected on both knives. I was, I didn't have a lot of expectation to really resonate with these, but they're both just really well-built knives, and if you feel quality in a knife, and if ergonomics are good, like, some of the aesthetics start to become less important to you, and you start to respect the knife more. And even though this wouldn't be something I would like go pick out of a lineup as like my go-to day-to-day knife, they're both very interesting what they do. So hope you enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe. Feel free to throw in info about these knives that I don't know because they are not up my alley. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.